Hey guys, welcome in. It is my pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Ingra and let's talk about it. So we're talking about episode 2. If you haven't had a chance, I want you guys to go and check out the podcast. This is a movement that was built out of necessity from my life, and I believe so many other people's lives as we start to dig and understand ourselves more deeply. And so the first episode was called What If? And we're building content, right? Because I want to be able to assist you in this beautiful journey that you're having. And so every Wednesday, I'm going to drop a new Let's Talk About It. And we're going to talk about the podcast that we just released the following Sunday. So every Sunday, I'm going to release a new podcast for the week. And then all week, we're going to build on that so that you can really get a deep understanding as we start to move. Now, a couple things. I just had a launch this weekend introducing the Becoming Movement to my family and my friends. They know I've been working feverishly on something and I'm so excited about it. And so to assist you, because I promised to assist you, I gotta have my coffee. You guys are gonna find out I'm a silly girl, but I've designed some beautiful merchandise that's available at 180lifecoach.com. And I say rituals. I never was a person who liked to follow rituals. And so I want you to be able to get your 180 Life Coach coffee cup every morning. And before you start your day, sit down, say a prayer, clear your thoughts, clear your heart, clear your mind. And I've designed journals, becoming journals. And so I have all different kinds. You can pick out what speaks to your heart. This photo was inspired by one that my husband took of me in a black trench coat at the beginning of this movement. And it kind of turned into this imagery because I feel like we're all on a path of becoming. And so you can pick out whichever design speaks to you. I have ones for pet parents. I didn't bring them all up. But also on the website, absolutely 100% unequivocally for free, is the Becoming Manual. So you can download this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get several copies printed so that you can order them as well, because I had this professionally done in full color that you can actually go through and follow. And when I tell you it's full of good information, like I said, heavy duty pages. So it's not like we cut financial corners. But for my launch, I gave a copy of the manual to everyone in attendance. And I want you to have yours. So it's for free. You can download it on the website. But this week, we're talking about why some people never change. And I want to have a candid conversation. We're not trying to rehearse anything. I'm not trying to script anything. It's just me and you talking, right? I know I've always been a person that's been open to change because I always felt like it was something that was missing that I couldn't put my hand on. There was a dissatisfaction in my life. No matter how much I accomplished in my life, I felt like, what is it that I am not feeling but feeling, right? And it stayed with me for, gosh, if I had to say, guys, it would probably be 35 years that feeling stayed with me, and I never could articulate it. I never could put it into words. I never could understand what it was that I was feeling. But if you know, you know. If you've ever walked in your life and felt lonely, but you had all these people around you, had feelings inside that you wanted to share, but you didn't want people to judge you because you're like, I don't want to seem ungrateful. If you have loved people more than you felt like you were getting love back, that you were basically accepting less than what you deserved. You had a lot of people, or maybe there was no people around you and you felt like you were completely by yourself. Maybe you have children, but you find that you pour into other people, but you don't feel like there's people that pour back into you. There's so many different feelings that I could try to describe, but I think that each person instinctively, women, we tend to give out and give out and give out. And the thing is, very seldomly do we have people to pour back into us. We have people that we complain with. And tonight I was just watching an episode of, I don't know if it was Heart and Hustle Houston, but the women were meeting together. And I gotta have my coffee. And one of the girls was talking about how she felt that she always did so much for others. And when she really needed help, she didn't feel empowered to ask for that help. And so she was like, I could be going through something and people don't even know. And she started crying. She was like, it's almost like I'm suffering by myself. And another girl who was sitting at the table, she starts crying and she was like, I understand exactly how you feel because I do it all the time myself. And immediately watching that episode, here I am talking about patterns. Like, this is the first time I've heard them say this, but here was two women who were connecting in their pain. The pain of not being heard. The pain of learning to suffer silently. And the first thing when I was watching that scene was, when did they learn that they were not important enough, or their feelings were not important enough to be expressed? See, when you start to look at the problems that we're feeling, the discomfort that we feel in our lives, it comes out in so many indirect ways. And we're trying to say, you know what, I need to learn how to express myself. I need to speak up more. I need to speak my truth. We do these things that we're making declarations. And I say we're pulling weeds at that point. We're just yanking them off by the heads. And the roots are still in the ground. And until you get to the root that's in the ground, that weed will come back. And chances are it will come back stronger. Stay with me. So when we talk about why some people never change, I want you to think about maybe when you knew something needed to change, but you justified it. Think about it. Something in your life that you knew you needed to change. It could be a relationship. It's so many things that we know we need to change, and we won't. Think about why. Why didn't you? What kept you in that particular situation longer than you knew that you needed to do? Because one example for me, and I'm always going to use me as an example, was when I knew I needed to stop smoking, right? I kept telling myself, I know I need to probably stop smoking, but it helps me with stress. Take a sip, y'all. Take a sip. Get your coffee and take a sip. Take a sip. Take a sip. Okay, taking a sip for real. I knew a part of my head, my wanted to justify my bad behavior was really saying, if I stop this habit, then what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to manage my stress? I just love smoking on a cigarette because it just makes my life so much better. The lies we tell. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why people don't change, is because they don't want to be honest. They don't want to be honest with themselves, because saying that what I'm doing is wrong or it's hurting me, nobody wants to admit that I'm literally doing something that is contributing to me not being good, or I'm doing something that is causing me to cause harm on myself. So when I was smoking, I was also in the process of having a nervous breakdown. Okay, why do I mention that? Because when a person has a lot of anxiety, and people with anxiety is going to understand this. For me, I never had this level of anxiety. Like, I knew I worried about things, but not to the point how it was affecting me. So I didn't identify it. I couldn't identify it. I didn't know which way to identify it. And so here I am every day having this shortness of breath. Because when you're having anxiety, it causes your adrenaline to raise. It causes your heart rate to raise. I was having palpitations. I was having high blood pressure. I didn't know I was having high blood pressure, but my body was responding with all these things. And on top of that, I would walk, and when I was exerting myself, I would feel it more. And it didn't stop me from getting to my car and lighting up a cigarette. In my mind, I was thinking, I don't know if I'm getting sick, but I know I probably shouldn't have this cigarette, but I'm going to have it anyway because I need to help my anxiety. So one of the reasons why people don't change is because we don't want to be honest. We don't want to get honest with ourselves because we feel like if I get honest, then I'm admitting that something is wrong with me. Something is off. And nobody wants to think I have a problem or I have an issue. But I want you to shift your thinking, because if we're going to move forward and you're going to really be everything that God has created you to be. And I don't want to say, because when I talk about becoming, a lot of times when people reference becoming, they reference that in I'm changing from who I am because I need to be something better. I'm becoming better. I'm becoming a singer. I'm changing who I am to be something different. I'm saying in the sense of becoming, we're shedding off all the old bad stuff that we picked on, packed on, carried for as many years as we've carried them, and we are letting that go so I can see who I am. So if you imagine yourself walking around for year after year and you put on a sweater, and then you don't take that off, and the next year you put on a jacket, you don't take that off, and then the next year you put on another sweater, and you keep layering all this stuff over yourself. If you can imagine doing that for 30, 40 years, how many layers you have. I don't even know who I am. I don't know what's under there. I don't know how I look. I don't know what exists because I'm carrying so much on me. And the thing is, we've gotten so used to carrying all that, we don't even realize we're carrying it. Now it just becomes what we do. And when I say you are surviving and not living, you are not to be that burden in your life. But when people have triggers, when they respond in certain situations, they don't see that that feeling is attached to something. So when we talked about what if, we were saying, what if the person that you have become, the person that is showing up every day, is not the original Ingra, original Donna, original Karen, original Micah, original Leslie, that you have turned into this person over time. Not drastically, it never happens drastically, but subtly. You adapted in order to survive. Some people may be really aggressive, and then they say, I'm just aggressive. That's how I am. That's how I roll. That's how I get down. I hear all these stories. But really underneath, when you ever see a person have a breakthrough, and somebody says, I want you to think about that. When did you get to be so aggressive? When did you feel like you had to be aggressive? If they allow themselves to relax long enough, then they'll say, maybe because I was bullied when I was a kid and there was nobody to protect me. And I made a decision one day that nobody was going to bully me ever again. And they became the aggressor. This is what I mean by you showing up. And they don't change because, one, they're not even aware that they're doing something, or maybe they've forgotten what's associated with the behavior. And so we have to be honest with ourselves. And when we allow ourselves to just feel safe and know that, hey, I want to help myself, whatever that looks like, that I'm not worrying about if someone perceives me as being something wrong. Because walking around in a life that is not fully lived or fully expressed, to me, that's wrong, okay? Being yourself can never be wrong. But being someone else who you've been forced to become, therein lies the problem. So a lot of people don't change simply because they don't want to ever say that something needs to change, because how they perceive change. And that is a lot of what prevents people. Because if you look at what you're doing as somehow hurting you or forcing you into something that you don't want, you will resist it. It's natural. Just like you are not going to drink poison. I can't convince you to drink poison because you're going to say, that's going to kill me. It's going to hurt me, Ingra. Why would I drink poison? Right? So in the process of becoming, some people never change because there is something inside of them that is saying, if I say I need to change, then I'm admitting that I'm flawed in some kind of way. But really the opposite is true. Living in a body, living a life that doesn't honor you every day, that's really the problem. Some people don't change out of fear of the unknown. I will be honest, the older I've gotten, I'm less likely to want to push myself outside of that comfort zone. And when I think about the comfort zone, for me these days, it's an exercising. When I was young, I pushed myself to do a lot of things. And I don't know why I pushed myself then, but I did. Probably a couple months ago, I was like, I need to start back running. But when you gain so much weight, you don't want to put all that on. Okay, look at me. This is my excuses, okay? This is what I was telling myself, because I've seen big people run, really big people run, and do an excellent job at doing it, let me say. I'll think the asthma. I'll think, oh, my lungs, the damage I've done. When really all of it is fear, because it's like I don't like to fail. That was one thing that really messed with me mentally. If I attempt to do this and I fail, how am I going to look to myself? It didn't matter. Like, it did matter if somebody else saw me fail. But to me, more of the pain was, what if I fail and these people see me? That's one thing. But if nobody else is around, I still got to deal with myself. And so I got on the treadmill and I started running. It was extremely hard. And I wanted to quit 1,000 times. And I was like, I'm not ready for this. And I had to say, but I have to let me just do 30 more seconds. And myself was saying, I'm not ready for this. Okay, let me do another 30 seconds. I just kept pushing the envelope. And before I knew it, I had done 40 minutes on the treadmill. I was so exhausted and whipped and tired that all I could do was go pounce down on the weight bench and just sit there. And I thought about it in that moment, like, I really didn't think I could do that, but I pushed myself mentally. I had to keep moving the barometer. I couldn't say, let me run for 5 more minutes, because 5 more minutes in my brain would have seemed too long. So, I've heard somebody say this, anybody can eat an elephant one bite at a time. That's how I want you to think about your becoming journey. You don't have to eat the whole elephant today. Just take a bite. And that's why in my mind, I kept saying 30 seconds, because I'm thinking, I can do 30 seconds. Anybody can do 30 seconds, right? I'm going to move this. You guys are going to learn me. You're going to learn about me. I'm consistent. If nothing else, in my wording, in my feelings, in my philosophy, I'm consistent. I'm in the pink room right now. You're going to learn about the pink room. This has been my saving grace. This has been my safe place. This has been my reflection space. And I'm going to move around in different places. So we're going to have all kind of conversations and say, let's just talk about it. Okay? But we don't grow if we are willing to allow fear to take us over. Fear of the unknown, fear of what if I do this, fear of what if I venture out on this. Like, this has been a project I wanted to work on for so long. And I know that I didn't have the vision for it. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't think I was not ready for it years ago. But now sitting here today, I know that I wasn't ready for it because I had to break. I heard Bishop say this to me one day. Not to me. Let me take that. Not to me. But I heard my bishop years ago when he was preaching, and this just came to me. He said, God would say, I had to break you. He said, somebody in here is wondering why they had to go through the hell that they went through. And I'll never forget him. He's saying, he had to break you because all the goodies were on the inside. Right? And I felt like that's exactly what happened to me. that I was going through this life ups and downs, and I was travailing it, I was handling it, I was managing it, right? But still feeling incomplete, feeling like something was missing out of my own life. And until I failed and I had to truly pick myself up, did I start to really be able to see that all the stuff that had been clouding my vision, that had been holding me down in my own life, the weight loss, the weight gain, the up and down, the this and that, the non-consistency of my life was because I needed to wake up from myself and remember who the hell I was. And because I was stuck and I didn't even know what I was stuck in, I now see, and I am convinced I need to help everybody else who will hear with an ear. Let me tell you a secret. You do not have to be where you are right now. You don't have to be in a situation. You don't have to live in the mental anguish. You don't have to beat yourself up, because it's all been a lie. It's been a lie. And sometimes we've dealt with the lie for so long that we don't know how to change. But fear will stop people from moving forward because they feel like, I can't. Sometimes it's the fear of letting a person go, and we don't want to be by ourselves, right? I was just talking to somebody who had been doing really well on their progress into becoming, and they said, I had a really bad day today. Some things emotionally kind of just taxed me, because they had been involved in a relationship with someone, and they were trying to get past that relationship that they knew was no good for them. But they have a habit of doubling back into relationships, and they know that this is a pattern. And they were like, I was so triggered when I saw this person. It just really made me start feeling bad all over again, right? And I kept saying, but why are you still having the conversations if you know the pattern? Why do you repeat it? It's fear. When we have a person in our lives, it's been a part of our lives for any extended amount of time. To say that I'm going to walk away from that relationship is just like making the change. Why some people don't change? It's fear. Fear of what I don't know. It's going to happen. But I want to be a reminder, because we as women are so much stronger than what we give ourselves credit for. As I've been working on my own memoir, because I've been doing everything, all the work with 180 Life Coach, I've been feeding my story into the AI model. And I do that so it'll know my story. And one day I saw a prompt that said, ask AI these questions, because you'll be surprised that it knows more about you than what you think it knows about you. And I kept thinking, well, my little AI assistant probably knows everything about me, because I feed it information purposefully with the intent of us having a better conversation when we're collaborating on things. And the question was, what does it know about you that you never said but was inferred, with the percentage of accuracy and why it felt that way? And one of the things it said about me was, sometimes you still think of yourself as a victim, as somebody who's been broken. But what you don't understand is that what would have broken you would have done it by now if it could. You've already survived it. You've already survived it. And when I read it, it almost made me cry. But at the same time, I knew it was very true. I think when it says you refer to yourself as a person who's broken, I don't refer to myself as a person who's broken as much as a person who has lived a life and whose story still makes me emotional sometimes. When I think about certain things, I still weep to myself. And not a weep in a sad way, a weep of what I went through, right? I weep for the young version of myself who had to endure some things and she didn't know how to protect or deal with those things. But I'm a lot more resilient. I know that about myself. But there are times in my life when I was afraid of making choices because I didn't know what the impact was going to be. And so I want us today to come into agreement that we're not going to allow ourselves to be victims in our own lives. Those days are over. When I say I am in the process of becoming, I don't think it's a process that ends. And when I say that, I truly I don't think I'll ever know every single thing. And I know that new challenges and new situations will continue to pop up in my life, and I'm ready to handle those. But I just want you today to realize that you are stronger than what you've given yourself credit for. And probably a lot of the things that you're avoiding dealing with, you've already survived. You've already survived. You've already survived. And so if you haven't had the opportunity, you can click the link below and you can listen to episode 2 of the 180 Life Coach podcast, Why Some People Never Change, in its entirety. You can also go to the website and download your Becoming Manual. And until next time, I'll see you soon. Because it's not over. We are still becoming.